Welcome to the Global Talk Forum. The topic today is 75 years of sufferings, Mastermind of Kashmir Carnage. This international seminar organized by Center for Southeast Asian Studies based in Indonesia. My name is Asep Setiawan from University of Muhammadiyah Jakarta and fellow researcher of CSEAS. Will be delighted and I'm honored to be host for next 2.5 hours. Dear distinguished speaker, audience from YouTube streaming and distinguished speakers, first of all, I would like to congratulate Happy Diwali. May light of Diwali brighten each day of your life, because today is Diwali celebration. So happy Diwali for all of distinguished speaker in India. Ladies and gentlemen, exactly 75 years ago on October 22nd of 1947, an armed group of Pashtun tribal militia supported by Pakistan military attacked Jammu and Kashmir, a princely state, and occupied large portion of Jammu and Kashmir. And several Pakistan soldiers also joined them in civilian attire under its military operation, Gulmarg Operation. Kashmiri people call October 22nd as a black day in their history. And since 1947, Jammu and Kashmir remain as integral part of India. In an effort to quell the unrest created by Pakistan and boost economic development, India government to scrap Jammu and Kashmir special status and bring it under the direct control of New Delhi on August 5, 2019. Ladies and gentlemen, the webinar will be an effort to find out the truth about the Kashmir conundrum and find out the mastermind of Kashmir Carnage. Here, I would like to greet distinguished speakers, Lieutenant General retired Syed Atta Hasnain, Mr. Utpal Kaul, Dr. Ahmad Kisai will join with us, Mr. Peramala, dan Dr. Sri Unanto. Welcome to you all. Welcome to the having this seminar. The first speaker is Lieutenant General Atta Hasnain. Please, I would like to share the CV of the general. This one, Lieutenant General Syed Atta Hasnain has most of his 24 years illustrious career. General Hasnain has several in turbulent environment, and of course, General has very much experience in since from northeast to Jammu Kashmir and UN operation from Mozambique to Rwanda. He has seen it all on crucial appointment. He served 7 tours in Jammu and Kashmir, decorated in almost of the menus the Jammu Kashmir conflict comprehensively. He commanded the Indian Army Srinagar-based 15 Corps and is today one of the foremost writers and analysts on Jammu and Kashmir, Pakistan, Middle East, and transnational extremist violence. He is much sought after speaker and writer from major Indian newspaper, The Times of India, The Indian Express, The Hindu Deccan Chronicle, and ASEAN Age, besides being a regular participant in television debate on mainstream television. To shorten the CP, on 13 July 2018, the President of India appointed Lieutenant General Hasnain as Chancellor of Central University of Kashmir. Please welcome Mr. Atta Hasnain for the speaker for about 30 minutes.
Thank you very much for having invited me, and good morning to all our colleagues and friends in Indonesia, across other countries, within India, all my colleagues in India here. Today is a very, very happy day in India. Happens to be Diwali. You have selected a very nice day. Of course, everyone is busy with their family activities today, there is no doubt. But it's also important that we use these days sometimes to remind ourselves of tragedies which have taken place in our history. And therefore, that is why I willingly decided that I must participate in this. I put it out on the Twitter also, on social media, in my channels, saying that, see, here is a nation, here is a think tank which is concerned about India, And they've chosen to decide to help us outreach to people with information and influence. And there should be many more organizations across the world with whom we should interact and network to be able to achieve a similar kind of an outreach. So this is very much appreciated. Thank you very much for having done this for us. Now, I have joined you, as you're aware, many times before, and I have a lot of friends from the Kashmir Pandit community with me here. Particularly very happy to see all of them here. And my job will be, of course, to sensitize. They are all aware of what has happened. They will speak some very, very knowledgeable things, their own research work, etc. I normally devote myself to speaking a little about 19th of January, definitely. But I also do speak a lot on geopolitics normally, because this is something which is not associated easily with Jammu and Kashmir by the international community. So I do draw attention to this particular aspect. But 22nd of October is a very important day in the history, and particularly 75 years later, because we are aware that the history of Jammu and Kashmir has been one in which there has been diversity. It's a region made up of 8 different sub-regions as such, with different ethnic groups, different faiths, which have changed hands in terms of leadership and influence over a period of time. Since 1846, of course, things were a little different, and we had the Dogra rule, which was there, existent for most of the time. But 1947-48 was something different, when the option was given to the princely states to decide whether they wanted to choose to join the Dominion of India or Pakistan. There was no third choice really given. This was the only choice which was given. But Jammu and Kashmir and a few other states felt that they had a diversity in their ethnic and faith-based makeup, and that they could choose to perhaps interact, debate, and perhaps secure for themselves some different arrangements with the British colonial masters. That was not an easy thing, because there were 500 plus other states with whom the British had to negotiate, so they could not obviously differentiate. But a standstill kind of an agreement was being sought by not just Jammu and Kashmir, but by some other states too. But the most serious of them was Jammu and Kashmir. What we need to understand is that at this stage of India's history, everyone was hell-bent on independence, on the end result of the national movement which had taken place, partition, which was a very unfortunate thing which was taking place at this time. They were looking at that and what the end result of the partition would be. So really saying, no one looked at the geopolitics, no one looked at the post events which could happen, the implications of all this which could happen here. Could this lead to violence, the kind of violence, what kind of loss of lives, etc.? What kind of the kind of turbulence which could happen? No one really had the capability to see this at that particular time. So the period from June particularly, I would say even a little earlier than June, till October was a very crucial period. Most people think that nothing really was happening, but on the Pakistan side, lots and lots of preparations were being done at that particular time. And they were anticipating that there will be a pushback, and they wanted to make sure that Jammu and Kashmir, which their perception was a Muslim majority area, needed to come and be a part of the dominion of Pakistan. They were working towards it. How much they were in touch with the rulers, the Maharaja, I don't have to really go into it in detail, but obviously the Maharaja of Kashmir was influenced to an extent that he felt that some different arrangements could be sought for his state. He did not succeed in securing that, and around 22nd of October, the date particularly being because of the onset of winter, if military operations had to be launched by Pakistan, obviously beyond October going into November would have been too late. Today is the 24th of October. I hope you're aware that there is already snow in Gulmarg today. There is snow in Gulmarg, and I've seen snow in Srinagar early November, 4th of November. I've seen snow in November many times there. So you have to give yourself clear month and a half for military operations. And this is exactly what the Pakistanis did. Pakistan did not have an army. From 15th of August, we were assisting Pakistan in many ways in creating their army. We were sending back a lot of their subunits and units which were getting divided from the British Indian Army. Lots of assets were being sent, ammunition, weapons, etc. were being shared with them. This is something very unusual where you find an army suddenly being divided out into two different armies. And they didn't have the organization, but they had the foresight. And you have to give them the credit that they had the military foresight. And General Akbar Khan, who was the mastermind behind Operation Gulmarg, decided to launch an unconventional military operation, which was not at all on the lines of what is generally taught, through what is called the Lashkars, the organization of tribal militias, which they had secured from the Afghan border. Good fighters, very, very, well, I won't say they are military fighters, but virtual adoption of terror kind of tactics to impose all kinds of measures to try and gain victory by any means, right? For them, the spoils of war, for example, is nothing. They could go away with spoils of war. They thought that perhaps anything that they have laid their hands on, including women, would be just taken away as spoils of war. So this is the kind of operation which was launched. And why was it launched? Why was it called Gulmarg? Why was it launched in Gulmarg and through Uri, this area of Uri? Primarily, if you look at the map, and I'm not showing the maps here, but if anyone wishes to have a look at the map of Jammu and Kashmir, you will see that to enter into Kashmir, the shortest route is actually via Hajipir. And this is the area through which you can go into Gulmarg, and from Gulmarg get into the Baramulla, get onto the Baramulla-Uri road. This is the road through which the access into Jammu and Kashmir used to be made from Punjab. From Rawalpindi to Muzaffarabad, from Muzaffarabad onto Chakoti onto Uri, onto Mohra, and Mohra onto Baramulla, Srinagar. This was the old route until 1952-53, when finally the Jawahar Tunnel was constructed and inaugurated. So this, in 1965 also they chose to use this particular route. So they decided that there would be some kind of a measures by which these Lashkars would be launched on an unprepared Indian army, or there was no Indian army actually, it was just the state forces of the Maharaja which was there, and that they would catch us by surprise and they would secure Jammu and Kashmir before the Indian army could ever respond. Now, the moment this happened, between 22nd October and 27th October, five very crucial days, which I'm sure my colleagues here will describe in more detail. I will go on to some other aspects which sometimes are not researched. These are the 5 days in which they had influenced many of the Muslim units to revolt, some of the units of the state forces, and in Muzaffarabad itself, and to push back and by any means get back into Jammu and Kashmir and capture all the crucial important areas like the airfields, the radio station, important communication centers, etc. So the moment this started, the first of the areas where the carnage was, of course, Muzaffarabad itself, where the whole revolt started, and from there then on to Uri, where the carnage took place in Uri to some extent, which people are not aware of. I have met lots and lots of people in Uri since I commanded the brigade in Uri itself. And then they came on to Mohra, to Baramulla. And Baramulla was the place which the tribals got tempted by Baramulla, and they went on to a carnage there. The convent, the very famous convent there, was raided. The nuns were raped. There were many British officers who were on leave there at that time. They were killed. They were just enjoying their holiday there, nothing else. Just an earned holiday that they were enjoying. Many of them were killed. And we had this famous case. I will leave it to someone to, I hope, explain the heroism of a man called Maqbool Sharwani, one of the few people who resisted and pushed back against these terrible devils who came across from the other side, the tribals. He is the man, young man, who misled them, did not allow them to go beyond Baramulla, saved many, many young lives, saved lives of many young women. He got discovered later, ultimately, and he was very unfortunately, he was very mercilessly crucified. He was crucified. He was put on a cross and hung virtually in the center of Baramulla. You will be happy to know that during my tenure and a tenure before me, we constructed a memorial for Maqbool Sharwani there, because we are an army which likes to remember our heroes. He was a civilian who helped the Indian Army greatly, Indian Armed Forces greatly in achieving what he did at that particular time. We also had some great heroes like Brigadier Rajendra Singh, who fought this campaign at Mohra, and the battle took place at Mohra, the battle took place at Baramulla, the battle took place at Patan. He was unfortunately killed. He got the first Mahavir Chakra of the Indian Army too. And I'm sure many of my colleagues will speak about this. So what I want to just say is that those who attempted the carnage of Jammu and Kashmir at this particular time, there were many heroes within Jammu and Kashmir who pushed back. Different communities who pushed back against this. There were military heroes. There were people like Brigadier Rajendra Singh and his very few men who joined, who were there, part of the state forces at this particular time. And they staved this off. They gave this at the time. And Maharaja finally, 26th of October, signed the instrument of accession, by which legally, and this is what is important to observe, that we legally decided that once the Maharaja has legally given the permission, then the Indian Army will fly in. And the decision was taken on the 26th, 27th morning. One of our units, very brave unit, First Sikh, flew into Srinagar airfield, which was a dirt track virtually, and occupied it. There was firing virtually going around Srinagar airfield. If we had not occupied it on that particular day, at that particular time, it would have gone, and that would have been a loss to India. We would have had to fight and perhaps lose many more lives to be able to regain that airfield. Based on that airfield, the Battle of Shelatank took place, where India got its first Paramveer Chakra. Major Somnath Sharma of Fort Kumau. The unit also flew in out here, and the pushback against the tribals started from here. Now, these operations were not just in Srinagar. Simultaneously, operations were also taking place in Naushera, towards Punch a little later, of course. They also started in Skardu, in Ladakh, in different areas. People are not aware that they were also taking, subsequently in the month of February next year, the operations also started through Gurez, in a virtually snowbound area, to enter into the Kargil and Skardu Gilgit area in particular. So there were lots and lots of heroes within Kashmir who did all this. And it was a joint effort, I can tell you. We had the Hindu community in large numbers. We had the Muslim community together. And today, if someone challenges and says that the Hindus and the Muslims of Kashmir were not together, I'm always willing to engage with them. Right? They were always there together. They fought as a Kashmiri community. They fought as an Indian community together. What happened in the 80s and the 90s is a different story completely, to which I shall switch now. So I leave it there because otherwise I will take too much time. 1965, an attempt was made again, Operation Gibraltar. This time again through the same area, an attempt thinking that India was very weak after the 1962 defeat to China, and this is the time when perhaps Pakistan, with the assistance of the Western powers, they were part of SEATO and CENTO. China was very much pro-Pakistan. They thought they could defeat India on the conventional battlefield. Well, we had an attempt to try and do the same thing, and the noticeable thing here is the Pakistanis always assumed one thing, and that is they felt that the Kashmiri Muslim community would rise in favor of the Pakistan side and on the Pakistan army and support them. Through the 50s and 60s, this didn't really happen. It didn't really happen. And I think Kashmir remained reasonably well integrated, although we had Article 370 and things like that. These were all issues of suspicion, thinking that a lot of difficulties would come our way, and that is why we enacted 370 at that particular time. My opinion always has been that Article 370 should have been removed in 1972. And I always felt that subsequently it should have been removed in 1994. I shall come to that separately. 65 was a stalemate. Jammu and Kashmir did not change hands. We defeated the Pakistani intent in Kashmir. The Kashmiri Muslim community did not rise in favor of Pakistan at all. In fact, it is the Gujjar community which came to our assistance in great ways. They were the ones who guides and people like that who came to us and told us about the presence of Pakistani Razakars who were there in different areas in the higher reaches of Gulmarg and places like that. The important area which I need to tell you about is the time of 1987 to 1994 or 1996. This is a very crucial period. Things changed hands. The world was changing. Now, when we are trying to identify who was responsible for the carnage in Kashmir, it is not necessary to identify only within Jammu and Kashmir or within India. Let's look at it externally also. There were external players involved in this. You see, the Cold War was coming to an end, and 1979 had thrown up a lot of ideological issues, three major issues which had happened in the world. The Iranian Revolution had happened, the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan had happened, and also the entry of the Grand Mosque by the Ikhwan in Saudi Arabia had happened. It had thrown up all kinds of ideological sentiments within the Islamic world. And communism was coming to an end towards the 80s. You saw what Gorbachev was doing at that time. And this always happens, civilizational clashes of this kind take place. And Islam was rising up in a different way at that particular time. There are different ways of interpreting what was happening. It seemed that Pakistan was at this time under great pressure internally after the defeat in 1971. The Pakistan army had lost its self-esteem, wanted to restore its self-esteem, and they felt that one of the ways of doing it would be by ensuring that they launch some kind of a means by which India is under great pressure. And Jammu and Kashmir was the touch point. And they felt that Jammu and Kashmir, by perception, Muslim majority, that they could actually take away Jammu and Kashmir from India, detach it completely, and geopolitically, geostrategically, it would make a huge difference to the Islamic world. This is the attempt that they made. And one of the major reasons, which I have also spoken of in one of my interventions after the movie Kashmir Files, I also mentioned that the presence of 500,000 Kashmiri Hindus, particularly the Pandits, at this time, was like something which was there which could be exploited. And we in India were not really security conscious enough, perhaps. We were not aware of the types of warfares which the world could indulge in. We always thought in conventional means. Conventional means firing a couple of guns, firing a couple of AK-47s and thinking that you could win wars. But you do not realize that wars can also be won by other means, by hybrid means, by ideological means, by financial means. And this is where we got stuck in the trap at that particular time. Because somewhere someone was plotting this whole thing and thinking that one of the greatest means of putting India under pressure would be to get the Hindu community out of Kashmir. How would you do it? Not by bits and pieces, not by tens and hundreds and thousands, but by a virtual genocide. A virtual genocide, right? That would cause a transformational change on the geopolitical side and put India under great pressure. And things were happening in 1989. Great things were happening in India, not necessarily positive, which were not making us realize, not making us focus ourselves sufficiently. I've spoken about this. These are YouTube videos available. I've spoken in the Kashmiri Samaj on this many times, in the Kashmiri Pandit Samaj on this to make them aware of this. And I realized that one has to realize that the Kashmiri Pandit community was identified as virtually a property which could be exploited. Get rid of them. Put the pressure on them. Put the pressure on them ideologically, put the pressure on them demographically that they cannot survive in Kashmir. 19th of January 1990, this was the means. This was the means used. And so there were plotters and there were carnage creators sitting on the other side of the line of control who were fully in the knowledge of doing what they did. And that is why people are unaware of this, because enough has not been written on this. Enough has not been spoken on this. And people who do speak and who do write are not knowledgeable enough to actually identify what really happened in this manner. We are aware of the sentimental and the emotional side of it. The Kashmiri Pandit community is fully aware of it. They know people who are there in second and third generation who are living in the Jammu camps today. Many of them are dispersed internationally. They are aware of this, but they're not aware of the security implications of how this was managed for a particular purpose. I've done a lot of work on this, and I've spoken to a lot of people on this, and I do keep speaking about this to people from time to time. So I'll put an end there, but my last part, which I want to speak here, it's not alone there. It's just not the identification of these people who were involved in the carnage. From 1990, when this movement started, everyone thought that it's going to be a cakewalk for Pakistan to just snatch away Jammu and Kashmir like this, having evicted the Kashmiri Pandit community from here, created the negativity here, created a local movement. They realized that the local movement was insufficient to be able to detach Kashmir from the rest of India. So they then started infiltrating many mercenaries from Afghanistan, those who had fought the war against the Soviet Union. Hundreds and thousands of them came. We all fought against them. India was fortunate. We had a good military leadership. We put together our act. We created the Rashtra Rifles. We fought back. We pushed back against them. We did not allow them to succeed. There were 5,000, 6,000 terrorists who came into Kashmir across an open line of control in those days. But this is all the military side. Politically, you found that in 1992, Bill Clinton came to power. And in 1993, you had the State Department itself, which was looking at engaging India in the new world order of the post-Cold War period, not realizing that the State Department itself was involved in the carnage. The first 5-6 years of loss of lives in Jammu and Kashmir, I many times ascribed to people who were unrealizingly doing this sitting in the State Department. There were leaders there were assistant secretaries of state who felt that they needed to support Pakistan. And you found the creation of financial networks, the creation of the Hurriyat, the creation of political empowerment of people who were involved in all this carrying on. And India was put on the map even on human rights. 1994, the first Human Rights Council meeting in Geneva, we were put on the mat. Fortunately, India fought back diplomatically. 1994, 22nd of February, both houses of parliament came together and passed a resolution, joint resolution. And that is how we projected to the world that the whole of Jammu and Kashmir belongs to India. What has happened after that in 2019, the 5th of August, this resolution was a precursor to 5th of August final decisions which took place. Very bold decisions which have taken place. Good things are happening in Jammu and Kashmir today. Since I've run out of time, I thought it's necessary for me just to put this much for you to understand, for your listeners to understand. And if there are questions and answers at the later part of the session, I shall always come back to answer them. So thank you. I'm sorry I've been very, very crisp and very brief, but I thought I made a few points which generally people ignore and do not reflect upon sufficient. Thank you very much for this invitation.
Thank you very much, Lieutenant General retired Atta Hassan. Speaking from New Delhi, India, he has described about the crucial moments during carnage in Kashmir and progressing up to now. And at the end of his presentation, Jammu and Kashmir declared as part of India. I believe all of us speakers has been here. I would like to greet Mr. Utpal Kaul, Mr. from New Delhi, Mr. Anil Taplu from New Delhi. He also Dr. Ahmad Kisai from Jakarta, and Peramala Anjaya from Jakarta, and Mr. Sri Unanto also Dr. Unanto from Jakarta, my senior college in University of Muhammadiyah. Let's continue with the next speaker, Mr. Utpal Kaul. I would like to have read the short bio of Mr. Utpal Kaul. I would like to greet, is Mr. Utpal Kaul with being with us today? Can I hear, do you hear my sound or Mr. Utpal? Just have read the short your next distinguished speaker, Mr. Utpal Kaul. As we know, he's international coordinator for the Global Kashmiri Pandit Diaspora, GKPD, is a scholar, writer, community activist, leader, and spokesperson of Kashmiri Pandit community. He has been an activist for more than 4 decades. He studied at the Kashmir University. During his university days, he was elected as president of the Kashmir University Student Union. He has participated in national and international debates and seminars on Kashmir, and Mr. Utpal Kaul has led many protests to get justice from his community. He met various presidents, prime minister, and parliamentarians to apprise them on Kashmir situation. And Mr. Utpal Kaul has published more than 100 books on Kashmir, and he regularly participates in live television debate. Again, welcome, Mr. Utpal Kaul.
Very good afternoon from India, and happy Diwali to all over the world. Best wishes, and to our panelists especially. I'm thankful to people of Indonesia. I'm thankful to all organizers of this wonderful university who are concerned about the human rights and who are concerned about what is happening in troubled my homeland, Kashmir. And so I thank you from my heart. Indonesia is an inspirational country. It's a country like India where Muslims, Hindus, Buddhists, Christians live peacefully. And we, as an Indian civilization, we have lived together peacefully for thousands of years. But I may give little reference here that British thought they will continue in India, and so they provoked some Muslim leadership and told them that you won't be happy with the Hindu majority India, and started the game of divide and rule. And that was the establishment of Pakistan. Jammu and Kashmir as the border state between one of the biggest provinces or kingdoms in Indian subcontinent. Jammu Kashmir is not just Jammu Kashmir. One has to understand it is Jammu, Kashmir, Ladakh, and we can say now Gilgit and Hunza also. But it is always treat, and it is always wonderful to listen to Major Lieutenant General Ata Hussain. I learned a lot of things. I must have heard his nearly 50 to 100 lectures and YouTube lectures, and I am fortunate. We participated together many times in seminars, TV debates, and it was Mr. Ravindra Panta. I am very happy he is here, and we had a press conference once together on Sharda temple, which is in POK, and it was a Pakistani student also joined from Muzaffarabad. What I really have heard, one is what you read in books, but my relations, my family, what they felt, what happened in 1947. As India was divided into two countries, and General explained us, India and Maharaja decided to have standstill agreement between the two countries. Our Prime Minister, respected Nehru, ji was very human kind of person, and he said, oh, nobody could, why should anybody have war with us, even in 1962, if we talk about the Chinese war. But Pakistanis were very, very smart. They thought politically they will not take Jammu and Kashmir because Maharaja is Hindu. He will not join the Muslim Islamic country. So we have to do some other means. And we in Kashmiris, we call that it is Kabali raid, that Kabalis, these tribals. But it was actually organized by Pakistani army. Major General Akbar Khan, as Ata Hussain Saab said, he was the mastermind. And they collected nearly 10,000 tribals, even from Northwest province, and put them across the borders from Muzaffarabad, Uri, Mohra, up to Gilgit. And at the back was Pakistani army totally, because these people had conventional, very old arms, these tribals. But at that time, which was the most sophisticated arms, Pakistan Army Rangers provided them these arms. So to cut it short, when they came face to face with the people in Baramulla first, in Mohra, and then in Baramulla, where it was district headquarters was Baramulla, they started massacring people. And it is a great tragedy which they attacked the hospital, the church, and they killed doctors as well as the Christian nurses in Baramulla hospital. And then they started going one by one to houses and looting. And this loot was, it was not heard of what they had no, they didn't distinguish between gold and bronze. They thought every bronze is gold. So they looted each and every house. And then if the Muslim would request that I am a Muslim, he would get less looted. But then if he is a Hindu or a Sikh, then it was total devastation for him. So this continued from 22nd of October till 22nd of October till 26th of October. But when Maharaja Hari Singh, the king of Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh, requested that army had come, Pakistani army, and Pakistan has attacked, the government of India said, we cannot help you. How can we help you? Because you are a separate country. How can we help you? There is only one chance, that if you sign the accession, as the rest of the 564 provinces or kingdoms in India have joined Indian state. If you join Indian state, then you become part of India and we can help you militarily. Otherwise, it's not possible. So Maharaja Hari Singh left his palace in Srinagar and went to Delhi. And in Delhi on 26th morning, and it is said that the leader of Kashmiri leader of National Conference, Sheikh Mohammed Abdullah, was also same time in Delhi. So we say that it was the agreement with the Sheikh Abdullah also. So on one side, it was the Maharaja Hari Singh who signed the instrument of accession. He so that the legally Jammu and Kashmir became part of India. And on the other side, it was also agreed by Sheikh Mohammed Abdullah, who was the leader of majority community and the leader of majority people in Jammu and Kashmir. So it was on the one side the government, and on the other side it was the people of Jammu and Kashmir. They joined India. And so it was when these Pakistani raiders and the army were approaching Srinagar, and but just outside the Baramulla, they met a young man whom we call the hero of all times in Kashmir, was Maqbool Sherwani. He was asked which road we will take for Srinagar. Instead of Srinagar, he showed them two shortcuts. One was going totally wrong side, and it got delayed by 2 days because of Maqbool Sherwani's showing them wrong way. But as everybody knows, that Maqbool Sherwani was later caught and he was crucified, he was killed, and he became first civil martyr in 1947. But on the other side, what was happening in Srinagar? There was Hindus, Sikhs, and Muslims trying to protect the airport. And so they had made the militia of their own. It was a militia of the civilians, and they had the slogan, Hamlawar Khabardar, Hum Kashmiri Hai Tayar. We Kashmiris, you attacker, listen, we Kashmiris are ready to fight you out. So it was not only the Indian army, it was the people of Kashmir who fought these tribals and Pakistani army. But when instrument of accession was signed by Maharaja in New Delhi, Indian government did the biggest military operation after World War II. All private planes owned by some industrialists and businessmen, they were also used. And the Sikh regiment, the Patiala regiment, was sent to Kashmir Badgam airport. And they made the highest sacrifice. So many of these brave soldiers were killed. But it took them only few days. Indian army took very few days to throw them out from Baramulla. It was a miserable defeat for Pakistani army and to these tribals. But it was not, as General Atta Hassan said, it was not only Baramulla and Mohra. The big fight was also in the sectors of Muzaffarabad, that side, and then it was a big fight from the Kargil and Dras, and also from the Ladakh, Dahunu side. And we didn't have road to take the army trucks and tanks to Dras and to this Kargil sector. And it was the greatest achievement by Indian army when they took the tanks on Zojila Pass, and that too in winter. So all praise goes to Indian army for this great operation. But question is, as wonderfully General Saab explained to us, Pakistan has some kind of obsession for Kashmir. They think the valley of Kashmir, because you have to understand, all of us who are here and who are listening this conversation, they have to understand that Kashmir is not Kashmir. Kashmir is the very small part of Jammu, Kashmir and Ladakh. Jammu is 2 times bigger than Kashmir, and Ladakh is 4 times bigger than Kashmir Valley. In Kashmir Valley, it is the majority Muslims. In Jammu, it is majority Hindu. In Ladakh, it is majority Buddhists. So it is such a wonderful combination that we could live together peacefully. But Pakistan doesn't want that. Pakistan wants permanent trouble. And so after 1948, they tried in 1965. I won't talk about the 1962 war, but I was a child. I remember everything what happened in 1965. because I know how Pakistani these bombardment were coming in the middle of the day or middle of the night. But the wonderful thing was how Kashmiri society, Muslims or Hindus or Sikhs, were together, that all these tribals who had come in the mountains through Gulmarg and through different sectors, they were the locals, from Bakarwals to Gujars to farmers. They informed Indian army that here are the people who are hiding and they are from Pakistan and they have arms. And so all these were arrested, and then this big game was discovered, how Pakistan was doing, we call them as infiltrators, how they were infiltrating to create trouble in Kashmir. And so 1960 was a decisive war where India was nearly 10 kilometers just outside Lahore. If war would have continued for another 1 week, Lahore would have been the part of India. So that was the way Pakistan was defeated. But their aim still continued to have some kind of trouble in Kashmir. If we talk of 1971 war, it was biggest insult for Pakistan in Bangladesh, because they did the same thing in Bangladesh also. I don't want to go to that detail, how human rights violation, how these Bengali majority people were exploited in Bengal. These people got the majority, but they didn't give them the government. And so finally it was a great rising in Bengal, and it was a war, and India got nearly 10 million refugees from Bengal. And finally it was 17 days war between India and Pakistan, and the new nation of Bangladesh was formed. And with the huge humiliation to Pakistan, when 93,000 Pakistani army surrendered to Indian army. And it was a huge setback. It was a huge insult. But we Indians, or India, thought we are still big brothers. After 1 year, we let them go home, all these 100,000 people. At that time, we could have asked them many things, exploited them, and even asked them to give us more territory and decide for all the time to come that you will never say that Kashmir is disputed or Kashmir is this thing or that. But we didn't do that at that time. Just after that, they started small kind of games through Jamaat Islamia in Kashmir, and they started slowly arming and giving education of terrorism, education of extremism, education of separatism to one section of people. And it resulted in 1988 big trouble, when government in Kashmir and government in Delhi realized that they are taking young boys, giving them training in Pak-occupied Kashmir and arming them. And nearly 10 to 15,000 young boys were taken to these training camps, giving them training. And after returning, these young boys started killing people and killing political workers from National Conference, killing workers from Bharatiya Janata Party, killing from different political parties. And those they think that they are Indian by heart and mind started killing them. And we have here Mr. Anil Taplu. His father was the first martyr on 14th of September in 1989. Because he was openly saying that Kashmir is the integral part of India, he was saying that in the main Lal Chowk in Srinagar. But he was loved by all Hindus and Muslims, but these separatists and terrorists wanted trouble and he was assassinated. And I remember the day, nearly 50,000 people were in procession when he was cremated. If I tell you, in these 32 years, nearly 200,000 arms, AK-47 rifles, Kalashnikov guns, pistols, RDX, rocket launchers were sent by Pakistan to these separatists and to these terrorists. And what happened? Nearly 25 to 50,000 people were killed in Kashmir. And they are Kashmiris, they are Hindus, they are Muslims, and they are Sikhs. So what support, what Pakistan is actually doing for Kashmir is not doing any good. They are just destroying Kashmir and destroying and making the wedge between Hindus and Muslims. They started, Kashmiri Hindus were just less than 5% in Kashmir. And we were living peacefully and nicely with our Muslim friends and brothers. My teacher, I did my pre-doctoral, and in my Kashmir University, we had Muslim teachers and Hindu students, and we were living together brotherly and as friends. But what happened? Kashmiri Hindus became refugees in their own country. These separatists and terrorists, they burnt our 25,000 houses. 25,000 houses. They killed nearly 2,000 to 3,000 Hindus. I am talking of minorities because I say that we were less than 5%. 5% or 4% cannot make any kind of trouble. And then they killed majority people also. Our 500 temples were burnt and destroyed. I told many times in webinars and TV debates to Pakistani friends, I still call them Pakistani friends because we cannot change our neighbor. We speak same language, we dress same, we eat same food, but we think differently. So what Mahatma Gandhi has told us, what our civilization is, to live with the neighbors, love thy neighbor as thyself. So we could live together like brothers, but if I calculate, we must have wasted in these wars and terrorism nearly, for last 32 years, we must have lost nearly $1 trillion. And this money could have gone for the development. As I told you, I tell my Pakistani colleagues and friends in debates that if you continue to do this, you will never be able to see Gulmarg. You will never be able to see the beautiful Nagin Lake, beautiful Dal Lake. Why do you need to come with the arms and send poor boys, unprivileged poor boys from Pakistan with arms and these jihadis and ask them that Islam is in danger in Kashmir? And they don't know that Islam is flourishing in Kashmir. And Islam, we have the largest mosques. In an average, we have the largest mosques in Kashmir. And Kashmiri Muslims have total freedom and they are enjoying. And so even the president of Pakistan, Prime Minister of Pakistan, till now, no one has seen the Dal Lake, no one has seen the Nishad Bagh and Shalimar Bagh or the Chashma Shahi, and never has seen the apple orchards and saffron fields in Kashmir. And I tell you, if they will change their mentality, if they will change their mental setup, we can live like brothers, and they could come to Kashmir and enjoy the beauty of Kashmir and live in with us in brotherhood. But as of now, we see that they will not do it. And they have, it is a business for them now. It's a huge business for them now, because now we see that America is again giving them money for F-16. What they did in Afghanistan, again, US is financing them. So the biggest industry in Pakistan is terrorism. Conflict. They have become, they have entrepreneurship in conflict entrepreneurship. Pakistan has a entrepreneurship and specialization for this terrorism. Otherwise, they could develop their country, and we can have India and Pakistan. With the great idea was of Vajpayee that India and Pakistan can live together in a friendly manner, in brotherly manner. We can develop for unprivileged people in both countries for education, economic upliftment, and healthcare. I have been victim of terrorism. I have lost my home, and our home was one of the heritage centers in Kashmir. We had nearly 5,000 library of books. We had manuscripts. My grandfather was a teacher and teaching the English students in Kashmir. At the same time, he had written 10 books on Kashmir. He was a scholar of Arabic and Persian. But they burnt our house. With that, they burned the heritage, cultural heritage of Kashmir by burning 5,000 books and manuscripts of our medieval and ancient Kashmir. So my appeal to all the scholars, my appeal to all civilized society is that they should prevail on Pakistan, that they will leave the path of terrorism and come to terms of peace and prosperity for their own people and for the world. And both the countries, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, we have so much of potential. We have good agriculture, we have good horticulture, we have good educated people. As India has developed 2 vaccines and given this vaccine to nearly 100 countries. And so I'm sure Kashmir will be like Singapore. We can give competition to Taiwan, we can give competition to Hong Kong, if Pakistan is not between, as they are disturbing our educational system, they are disturbing our health care system. And now we have such a wonderful highway has been developed by government of India that it will take from New Delhi to Srinagar only 9 hours, and it will take us from Srinagar to Ladakh only 7 to 8 hours. Such development is happening. Narendra Modi government has putting nearly 50,000 crore of rupees. So much of development work going on. And we were trying to, as a Kashmiri Pandit community, we were trying to go slowly back to our home. But now we had some few thousand employment we got there. But these people started again killing the minority. We are not even 1% now there, but still these Pakistanis direct these terrorists and these separatists to kill this minority community. And in last 3 months, they killed nearly 14 of them. And so they again want a kind of anarchy, a kind of civil war in Kashmir, but they will never get success. And we Kashmiris will prevail upon them. And to all Indians, that there will be peace and prosperity in Kashmir. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Utpal Kaul, speaking from New Delhi. Thank you very much, sir. And just to make it short, that Mr. Utpal Kaul described about the critical moments at the time when Maharaja requested India to intervene of Jammu and Kashmir, and how the cooperation community, Muslim and Hindus, shaping modern Jammu and Kashmir, even though a foreign countries still try to intervene the Jammu and Kashmir. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to greet also the audience from YouTube streaming. We are now going to have a next speaker, Mr. Anil Taplu. Let's have to introduce the short bio for Mr. I think Mr. Ahmad Kisai first, yeah, before Utpal Kaul. But let's have a check. Is Mr. Ahmad Kisai with us already?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, so let next speaker. I think sorry, Mr. Anil Taplu, and we will have heard from Mr. Ahmad Kisai first, speaking from Jakarta. Dr. Ahmad Kisai basically is assistant professor in Paramadina Graduate School of Diplomacy in Universitas Paramadina. And Dr. Ahmad Kisai was born in Blitar, East Java, Indonesia. He held PhD in political science from Aligarh Muslim University, India. His academic interests are on civil society and democracy, Islam and identity politics, international relations, Indian politics and economies, and sustainable development and governance. And for a short term, and then he has beside of assistant professor in Paramadina Graduate School of Diplomacy in Universitas Paramadina. Dr. Ahmad Kisai also has involved in partnership for governance reform. Thank you very much from having with you, Ahmad Kisai. Please for around 20 minutes presentation.
All right, thank you so much for this opportunity. I know there have been some good points mentioned earlier, so I'll share a bit of my screen. Can I? All right, thank you. Good afternoon, selamat sore. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hope everyone are doing great. It's been nice to meet you again on this virtual room. I know so virtual is one effective way to meet, but then meeting in person is always better. I've never met Mas Asep, Kang Asep in person. I've met Pak Anjaya, but the rest also I haven't met. So would love to meet someday, because like the COVID is already decreasing. Hopefully it's going to be like much better. So we have we no longer have a BC, like we'll have a BC, not AC again. BC before COVID. We'd love to have that one. All right, so I think it's interesting to talk about Kashmir. It is something that always comes to mind whenever we talk about what's going on in South Asia. For me, I'd like to speak a little bit on this, on the basis of what I'm learning and on the basis of what I'm teaching in my class. I'm having a class on Indian political economy, so that's one of the ways to see this issue. When we talk about this Kashmir's sufferings, then I would like to bring the discussion into what is going on and how we would like to understand the situation back then. And hopefully we could think of the future steps for the betterment of the humanity as a whole, and as well as the population in Kashmir and India. I'll start with this one. From the political economy analysis perspective, then we have three factors here, three important points that could affect the way things are being understood or things are evolving. First of all, it's about agents. What is agent? Agents is individual and organizations pursuing party interests. Who, what, and why they are there, and how they act, it will affect the situation. Second point is about structural features. It goes around the stories, the histories, the formation, the resources, anything that relates to what is what in a society. It could be the economic and social structures. It could be the other factors such as globalization or even like urbanization. And these things, when it is connected with the third factor, the institutions, then it will be interesting to understand what's going on back in Kashmir, back in South Asia in 1947. The institutions, the rules governing the behavior of agents, including the formal and informal situation. And with all these things, we would be able to understand, to know what happened. Like in the previous points mentioned, what has been, a lot of things have been going on after 1947. But for me, I would like to bring a little bit on that point and why it happened and how actually things happened at the time. So I'll go back to that historical aspect so that we can understand what actually happened, and from there we hopefully can take a step forward on how to improve the situation. With all these things, in the connectivity between these three factors, then we can understand the dynamics and the change that we would expect and how change should occur in that situation. First off, we talk about the agents. Back in 1940s, or say before the partition 1947, then when we look at what happened or what is going on in Kashmir or Jammu and Kashmir, then we have the Dogras, the one that are ruling the territory. They are the Hindu Rajput community. They owned the whole territory of Jammu and Kashmir, including Ladakh, as mentioned earlier, as well as they control everything. Just right before the accession to India, they became the mediating entity for the British crown at that time. So the Dogras and Maharaja Hari Singh, as the last Maharaja there, actually the one that control the situation. They are the one that made the laws, that made the lives of the Kashmiris, both Muslims and non-Muslims, and the Hindus, the Sikhs, the Buddhists also, as well as the rest, actually evolving in the Jammu and Kashmir region. Second one is the Muslims, or say those who are the working class. As we understood in Kashmir itself, as the data that I got is from the census 1941, 78% of the total populations of Muslims there are not the landowner. They are the workers, they are laborers. Most of them do not have the land. They just workers that do not have the authority or the say possession of property. So this is another factor, another situation that is very much there. The third agents that was very much important in the whole process in those times is the cadres of the state-appointed land agents. They are the one that mediate, positively speaking, but they are the one that actually controlling the way things are run. They, as expected, to be the extended authority of the kingdom, but at the same time, they also have created their own problem by, most of in some of the studies that I had, they, with the authority they have, they abuse their position, the situation, thus creating their own interest or achieving their own interest. The last agents that should be understood in this context of Kashmir in 1940s is the British Crown or British government at that time. They are the one that controls the whole territory of South Asia, as we understood, or say territories like Pakistan, which is understood right now, India, as well as the territory of Bangladesh. So they are the one that actually has all the overall control over these lands, over this territory, over the population in Kashmir. With this, we go to the second point of the structural factors or structural features. these are the situation, the rule of the games, the mechanism, the factors that affect the functioning of the society, the functioning of the community. There's a Treaty of Amritsar. This is the beginning of the challenge of the Kashmiris as well as the population there. With that treaty, the Sikh rulers of the Punjab sold the Valley of Kashmir to Raja Gulab Singh in Jammu to pay for the loss in the war. With that, the authority was transferred. And with the same treaty, which is important to notice, like there was no provision for the appointment of the British resident there in Jammu and Kashmir. As such, the Dogras, they had their autonomy, utmost autonomy to rule, to govern, to whatever they want to do in their territory. The third point is the geographical divide. This is something that should be understood. Whenever we talk about Jammu, Kashmir, there are also Ladakh there. We cannot leave that territory. When we talk about this, we can see the difference. Jhelum Valley, Indus Valley, and Jammu. Then when we talk about this one, we can see the characteristics, the population, as well as the way the community actually lives. It goes into the fourth point of the religious divide. With all that, there is a geographical difference. As mentioned earlier, Jammu, the majority are not Muslims, but their majority will be Hindus and Sikhs, as well as in Ladakh, the majority are not the Muslims. It is only in Kashmir itself that the majority population are Muslim, while Ladakh is the Buddhist. So this created, apart from the geographical divide that created, disconnectivity between the regions in Jammu and Kashmir, the religious divide also added a complexity in the way things are engaged. And the last point is the rule and the ruler subjects, the ruler and the subjects situation. While the majority are Muslims, but the rulers were Hindus. This also created a situation where, as mentioned in my previous slides, that the authority, the control are not within the majority. There is no democracy as we understand, one man, one vote, one value, but then it is the authority of the king and his associates to run the show, to run what's going on. And on the right side, I think another factor that is very important is about the river. This is actually something that we should consider as the key factor when we talk about what is going on after 1947 or why 1947 actually happening. Looking at the river system, we see the Indus River, we see Jhelum, Chenab, Ravi, Beas, Satluj, where they run through Pakistan, but where are the upstream? It is located in Kashmir, it is in the Himalayas, it is in their territory where it is now being part of India. So these factors also impacted, in my understanding, the way the situation occurred back in 1947, apart from the religious situation. So these structural features, the geography, as we understood, this river flow, river system actually impacted the economy in Pakistan, in India itself. So in my understanding, whoever controls the river controls the economy, controls the territory. So that's why one of the reasons behind what is going on, what we said earlier, is the river system, the source of the economy in this region. And when we go to the last point, the institutions, we had the British Crown. They were the one that actually controlled the territory from 1857 until the day when they decided to do the partition. With that authority, with that rule, with that capacity to manage, to manipulate, to also make use their power, they can do whatever they want. And this is something that happened in 1947 when the religion-based partition occurred. This is very unfortunate, just because of the hasty it has intention to just leave the region. They just, okay, let's justify it on the basis of the religion. Simple. Because majority and minority was, I mean, there was no concept of it, because back in the 40s, the population is almost similar, 49 to 51 or 40 something to 50 something. So it's just close. There, okay, in democracy, there's 50 plus 1 is majority, but then with this fact, actually, there was a balanced population in British India at that time. The rule or the decision to have this partition actually impacted what is going on, what happened in this region, and why this should happen. Why this thing happened, right? What we understood right now. For me, had there been no such kind of hasty decision, and there was communication, consultation, democracy as we understood, then it would have been a different story. There would not be a Pakistan, there would not be India, there would not be even Bangladesh. But then, fact is what it is. Partition occurred, Pakistan was created, India was born, later on there was this Bangladesh. With all these institutions, the actors, they affect the way the situation in Kashmir. As I mentioned earlier, that the economic factors, the way the potential natural resources which is there in Kashmir, it is the important pitching intention for these actors to actually, control Kashmir or control the region. And what does it all mean? For me, when look at those factors, those when we go back to the first slide of my first slide, the three factors actually interconnected, intertwined, and then they will impact each other, and from there we can understand the dynamics, and we can understand what happened during this time, during this situation. With the control of the Dogras at a time, with the inability of the Muslim population as the majority in Kashmir or in their region to actually decide, the fate of the Kashmiris was on the hands of the ruler. There was an opportunity for the Kashmiris to decide to go, which way to go if they follow the principle of partition in 1947. They could go to Pakistan as the fact that the majority of them are Muslims. Ladakh could go to India or say Jammu, but then Kashmir could go to the region of or to the Pakistan that was established at the time. But then there was another factor that was in place. That was the authority by the Maharaja that decided that I am on my own. I don't want to be part of either India or Pakistan. So that was a very, very interesting decision, because of the fact that there could have been a different story had the Maharaja decided to pick side at that time, as what happened in Hyderabad, for example, the landlocked area where majority were Muslim, but then they decided finally to be part of India. There could have been a different story had this situation also occurred in Kashmir. There should not be an instrument of accession signed by the Maharaja. Had he been able to think strategically, the position of Kashmir is landlocked, while it has so much natural resources, we could have picked which one that has the authority, which one that has the potential of making sure the dynamics and the situation in Kashmir, in Jammu and Kashmir state actually better. So when he decided to sign the instrument of action, it is not a perfect solution because the problem had already started. The war had already started, the infiltration had already started, the uncontrolled chaos had already started. It was too late, but then, and anyhow, this instrument of action also provided a stepping stone for Kashmir at the time to become part of bigger dominion, a bigger say entity, which is India, that would provide better opportunity. That was the imagination at the time, because the fact is related to the third point, that from 1947 until 2019, with that specific spatial status, things didn't go as expected. We understood what is going on in Kashmir, in Jammu, in Ladakh itself. The previous speaker already mentioned about these things. And then fast forward from 2019 onward, there was a new mechanism in place. The spatial status was abrogated. A new approach had been in place. But then we should also ask, would this also provide the better choice for the Kashmiris? Would this mechanism approach also the decision by the current administration, for example, I would not say current administration, because it's been decided in Parliament. Parliament is a representation of the Indian population, so it's valid. It's all valid. Decision is all valid in the case where the new approach had been taken. Would this be the perfect choice? We never know. But then, as data said, as because I'm staying in Indonesia. Yes, I was there in India, but now I don't have real access to go and see what is going on in Jammu and Kashmir. So from the data, from the information I got, there is a positive change in Kashmir and Jammu and Kashmir. But then still, there are also efforts that should be in place. This should be ensured, be implemented as what's been decided. I mean, improving governance, improving participation, improving security, providing more opportunity for the Kashmiris, for the population in Jammu and Kashmir, to get what they want as the owner of the as the taxpayer. I mean, as the owner of the territory, because they are the Indian population. They are the one that actually rightfully owned the land, the property there in India. Then this mechanism could positively contribute to the situation, to the improvement of the situation, to the improved management of the natural resources. For me, when we look back at the this river system, if there's a good governance there, if there's a positive mechanism in place to make sure that the management, the utilizations of those river system, it could have become an important way of managing the conflict, managing the diversities of problems there, just to make sure that what the Kashmir want, what the Indian population want, what the Indian state want, could actually be achieved. So I think when we look at the question, what is the source of suffering? For me, it is the greed of the people, the greed of certain population, certain element in society that wanted to control things that should be enjoyed together. Thank you. With that, I'll give it back to Kang Asep. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much, Dr. Ahmad Kisai from University of Paramadina, Jakarta. He touched some prospect of Jammu and Kashmir, and also discussion of mainly from economic political concept. And I believe we can discuss some of question who has been raised by Ahmad Kisai. Next speaker is Mr. Anil Taplu from New Delhi. Let's explain a little bit about the curriculum vitae of next speaker, Dr. Anil Taplu, is the son of late Amar Shahid Pandit Tikalal Taplu. His father was a great leader of Jammu and Kashmir. He was killed by terrorists on September 14th, 1989 in Srinagar. Mr. Anil Taplu is a doctor of alternative medicine. He is from Department of Pharmaceuticals. He is also an independent coordinator of PSU of Health and Pharma. Please welcome Dr. Anil Taplu.
A very good afternoon to everybody here. Am I audible?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. First of all, a very happy Diwali to all of you. May God, Durga, Mata Lakshmi bless you all with great health, wealth, and prosperity. I am one of those fortunate people who has seen Kashmir socially, politically, and militarily also. Lieutenant General Mr. Atta and my brother Utpal Kaul has already mentioned many things. I also wanted to put my point, but after listening to Dr. Ahmad, abruptly I'm forced to change my statements. Answer needs to be given to do effective corrections. Because many people read many things and the wrong interpretation is always harmful. With due respect to Dr. Ahmad, religious divide has nothing to do with terrorism. We in India strongly believe that terrorism has no religion. We have great regard and respect. We have been taught from our childhood to respect all the religions. We have celebrated Diwali, we are celebrating Eid, we are celebrating all religious festivals in India. This is what India is all about. If we talk about terrorism on religious divide, what about Afghanistan? What about Syria? What about so many countries with one religion? When there is no other religion. Kashmir is not only a part of Kashmir. Kashmir is Ladakh, Kashmir, Jammu. Our part of Jammu and Kashmir, unfortunately occupied by Pakistan today, Balochistan and Aksai Chin. Now, if you look at the Balochistan, 100% Muslim majority. When you see a spokesperson from Balochistan, their leaders are in exile. You'll always see and find the Indian flag, Indian tricolor behind them. They call themselves openly Indian. So religious divide is the wrong interpretation. Now I will give my answers point to point. Dr. Ahmad said 70% of the properties were controlled by minority community Hindus. And majority community in Kashmir was, most of them were laborers. You have to understand what was the reason for this. The reason was the Kashmiri Hindu community is 100% literate community for last more than 1,000 years. Originally, the name called Rishi Kashyap. The Kashmir name was given after Rishi Kashyap, the saint Kashyap. And the first largest university was Sharda University, which is unfortunately now in POK. Because of the literacy, the education part, the property part was always under Kashmiri Hindus. And it was the Kashmiri Muslim leaders and the community, our brothers and sisters in Kashmir, who happily joined hands with India. And today, if you see the situation in Pakistan occupied Kashmir, what Pakistan has done to our Kashmir in that area, that is miserable. You have dams, we have highways, we have international airports, we have major universities, we have IITs, we have international standard institutions in Kashmir Valley. Now the entire Jammu Kashmir Valley is prosperous after Article 370. There were some mistakes, I will say, created or done or executed by our leaders and the Maharaja itself. The first mistake was Maharaja Ranbir Singh's grandson, Maharaja Hari Singh. He should have not taken much of the time to get. Can you hear me? Am I audible?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
He should have immediately joined hands with India. He waited worst to happen. When he joined hands with India, Farooqullah joined hands with India, the entire Jammu Kashmir should have been handed over to India. But unfortunately, our first Prime Minister, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, maybe his politeness or maybe his lack of information, what interest it is a point of discussion. He put this Article 370 for no reason. This Article 370 gave a psychological information to a majority Muslims that we are something special and India is under our control. In one house, if a father has 4 children, 5 children, 6 children, like we have Hindu, Muslim, Sikh, Isai, Bodh, Jain, happily living for thousands and thousands of years, the parents has to give love and affection to all the children. If you try to fascinate a particular child, he is going to create problem for you. This is what we have seen in Mahabharata. What happened to Kaurav and what did they do? Point number 1. The actual problem of Jammu Kashmir, what Dr. Ahmad rightly said, is the reverse. Pakistan does not have water of its own. They don't love Kashmiri Hindu, they don't love Kashmiri Muslims, they don't love anyone. What they wanted, only the water. Water is the main problem between Jammu and Kashmir. Why Pakistan is using terrorism? Because they know they cannot fight Indian army, a disciplined Indian army. They cannot fight the people of Jammu and Kashmir. But it is unfortunate that in 1984, it started actually 1984. I was in class 10. We started observing that most of our friends are getting, they are not in contact with us. And we realized it when we came to college after 2-3 years that they were being unfortunately tried to radicalized. We lost many young youths because of the indecency by Pakistan. Terrorism, I'm again repeating, has no religion. We have lived happily, as my elder brother Utpal Kaul has mentioned. We have happily lived together for years and years and years with all the communities in Jammu and Kashmir. Kashmiri Pandits have suffered very badly. I have seen my father. He had 9 bullets. And what was his fault? The fault was he was loved by all the communities. Mr. Utpal Kaul knows 90% of the Muslim population in our constituency would vote only for Pandit Tikala. 90%. This was the respect, this was the love and affection. But radicalized people, the people who want to terrorize, they don't see whether you are a Hindu or a Muslim or a Sikh or Isai. They had to terrorize. They called him outside his home and he was shot. The Muslim shopkeeper took him to the hospital. Unfortunately, he did not survive. There were 8 girls, Muslim girls, studying with me. We had the same subject. They did not have a son in their family. So I was their brother. After this migration, all the 8 girls, my Muslim sisters of a prominent family in Kashmir, they were married in my own house here. I arranged everything. And I am still their brother. I'm still their brother. We are now 50 plus. I'm still their brother, and they are living all over the world. So it has nothing to do with this community and that community. It is only terrorism by Pakistan, who always wanted to see that how we get Kashmir and how we get all these 6-7 rivers, because they are totally dependent on these rivers. And rightly, Mr. Utpal Kaul told you that many a times we had chance to bargain with Pakistan. Unfortunately, our leaders did not pay that attention and they did not bother to think the situation will go this worst. It is not only the Hindu community has suffered in Kashmir. It is the education, it is the health, it is the accounts department, it is anything where education is related. Kashmir has suffered badly because totally this was controlled by one community called Kashmiri Pandits. In 2019, the Indian government has taken away with due process Article 370. It is only then when the entire community started asking that at least the Indian government and the government of Jammu Kashmir has to accept the Holocaust of Kashmiri Hindus. Because before this Article 370 was not revoked, we had, I think, Ranbir Penal Code, Maharaja Ranbir Penal Code in Kashmir. And that was the violation against Article 14, 19, 20 of Indian Constitution. That no criminal cases and charges can be framed in Jammu and Kashmir. I'm happy to announce that recently in September 2022, the Supreme Court has accepted the petition by an NGO And Supreme Court has given order to the central government to work on this issue to see that the Holocaust of Kashmiri Hindus has to be endorsed. Not a single FIR has been launched today. But now things have changed. We know that the new dispensation, in today's dispensation in India, things are changing. Kashmir is changing. Thought process is changing. Rightly, Lieutenant General Attaji said, there were 5,000 to 6,000 terrorists few years back. Today we have less than 100 terrorists. So things are changing. Things will change. Kashmir is coming to normalcy. World needs to understand it is not religion. It is not religion which has created the problem. Religion is an excuse. Let us not shame any religion. We are proud of our Muslim brothers and sisters in Kashmir. We are proud of our Muslim brothers and sisters in India. We will never use religion to terrorize any other religion. So Kashmir problem is not a divide into religious or demography. Pakistan wanted these rivers. Pakistan wanted Kashmir only for rivers. Yes, it has taken many, many years for a common citizen of Jammu and Kashmir to understand all these things. My advice to the people all over the world, please do not use the word, please do not use the religion when we are talking about terrorism. We have suffered, we have seen, yes, people use religion. Look at ISIS. When they sell girls for prostitution, when they kill people, they use the religious slogans, but it doesn't mean we can't call them humans. If you are not a good human, if you are not a human, you are doing inhuman activity, you cannot be a Muslim, Hindu, Sikh, Isai, anyone. I strongly believe in this. I'm a proud Indian. I'm a proud Hindu. But I am equally responsible, and what has been taught to me from my childhood, to love and give affection and respect to all the religions of our country. Pakistan needs to be isolated in the world. Americans have understood it after 9/11. Americans still are not understanding how dangerous this country is. Pakistan is trying to, this is terrorism phobia. That is what has happened to Pakistan. Where is Pakistan today? Because of this terrorism. What has happened to Pakistan? They are beggars. And what is India today? Rightly, our external affairs minister said, Mr. Jaishankar, recently in United Nations when he was in US, India exports IT, information technology. Pakistan exports international terrorism. And it is everybody knows. But let us, I'm again repeating, the interpretation should be very correct. Kashmir problem has nothing to do with the religious divide. Kashmir problem has nothing to do with the religious divide. It is only terrorism created by Pakistan, some mistakes created by our politicians, and untimely activity and decision of Maharaja Hari Singh. I thank the organization at Jakarta for inviting me to participate in this program. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Anil Taplu. Speaking from New Delhi, for a note, he mentioned that there is a lot changing in Kashmir particularly the dawn of the violence today. And also, Mr. Anil Taplu stressed that the Kashmir problem is not in line with the religious demography in the region. I would like to invite the next speaker, Mr. Peramala Anjaya, before comments and from Mr. Unanto, but I would like first to introduce Mr. Peramala. Basically, he is a senior of a journalist in former Jakarta Post. Let me introduce first for the very short biography for Peramala Anjaya. Is a senior research fellow, also Center for Southeast Asian Studies, CSEAS. Let me share the short bio of Peramala. He holds Master of Philosophy in Southeast Asian and Southwest Pacific Study from School of International Studies, Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi, and also Master degree in History from University Madras, India, Bachelor's degree from Osmania University, Hyderabad. Mr. Peramala Anjaya is a senior journalist and has worked for the Jakarta Post from 1995 to 2020. Please, time is yours, Mr. Peramala Anjaya.
Yeah, thank you, Asep, and my fellow all distinguished panelists. A very good evening. And also, I want to congratulate, wish you happy Diwali to all my speakers and as well as all participants of this webinar. Thank you. Next slide, please. Yeah. So as my earlier speaker said that at the time of India's partition in 1947, there were 562 princely states, including Jammu and Kashmir. So actually, birth of Jammu and Kashmir state was on March 16, 1846. Earlier, it was Jammu, and the Kashmir state was taken from the Sikh king, and it was, I mean, as a war repatriation, and it was a part of the British India from 1858 to 1947, but with an independence sovereignty. But partition of British India was based on religion. So this gave these 562 princely states were given three options: accede to India, accede to Pakistan, or remain independent. The JK ruler Raja Hari Singh was indecisive. He didn't take a decision. Though, I mean, majority of the people at the time, led by National Conference leader Sheikh Abdullah, were in favor of India, but Raja Hari Singh was reluctant to take any decision. So at the time, the Jammu and Kashmir was a majority of the population were Muslims, and it was ruled by a Hindu king. Next slide, please. Yeah, so Pakistan deliberately wanted, of course, the rivers were also major region, but it wanted that Jammu and Kashmir should join Pakistan. So, but their expectations didn't meet, and they feared that Jammu and Kashmir might join India. So that's why they launched Operation Gulmarg, under which 20,000 Pashtun militia would be used to invade Jammu and Kashmir on August 20, 1947. It was only 6 days after Pakistan's independence. Can you imagine? But however, the information was leaked to the media and the operation was postponed. On October 22, 1947, around 2,000 Pashtun tribesmen with full support from Pakistani military attacked Muzaffarabad and other cities, and other militants also joined in a later stage. Pakistan's Brigadier Akbar Khan led the attacks. The pretext was to help Kashmiri Muslims. But these tribal militia, they did attack. They launched attacks and massacred thousands of Kashmiri Hindus, Muslims, and Sikhs. They looted houses and they burned towns and cities, and also they raped women. So it is the very Black Day. So that's why October 22 is now known as Black Day in Kashmir. Next slide, please. Yeah, civilian revolt under Sheikh Abdullah, who founded the All Jammu and Kashmir Muslim Conference in 1932, later renamed as National Conference. Sheikh Abdullah did not want the accession of Jammu and Kashmir to theocratic Pakistan. Har Singh, this after the tribal attack, the Hari Singh sought Indian help, which the later refused, as Jammu and Kashmir was not acceded to India. So on 26 October 1947, Raja Hari Singh, and with the approval of with the support of the Sheikh Abdullah, so he signed the accession treaty with India on October 26, 1947. On October 27, India airlifted its troops to help Kashmiris to retaliate against the invaders. Then the Pakistan started its first Indo-Pak war in 1947. So Indo-Pakistan war resulted in a ceasefire under the UN auspices. So then the United Nations Security Council passed resolutions number 39 and 37. And also, I mean, Pakistan deliberately want this Jammu and Kashmir for whatever the reasons earlier my speakers mentioned, but it didn't stop its efforts. It started wars in 1965, 1971, and 1999. Pakistan lost all its wars, and then it started a new tactics. Yeah, next slide, please. Yeah. Pakistan's new strategy in 1989, it adopted a new strategy called proxy war, involving state-sponsored terrorism, separatism, border infiltrations, truce violations, rise in radicalism. So these through these activities, they want to create chaos in Jammu and Kashmir. So they, according to the government of Indian Home Ministry, there were 42,000 Kashmirians were killed in these all these years due to the terrorism. Next slide, please. Yeah. So according to our topic, who are the masterminds behind this Kashmir's carnage? The number one is Pakistan's government. Since the day, I mean, the government was responsible, and Pakistan leaders also, including Muhammad Ali Jinnah and Liaquat Ali, and all these leaders were also fully support of this Pakistan army. Also another responsible group, and Pakistan's terror groups. These are the masterminds behind Kashmir's carnage and Kashmir's suffering today also. So next slide, please. Yeah, so now on August 5, 2019, Indian government removed the Article 370 to remove the special status of Jammu and Kashmir, and to bring Jammu and Kashmir people on par with all other states in India. So then the government also, after declaring Jammu and Kashmir into two union territories, one is Jammu and Kashmir and the other one is Ladakh. So after that, they improved the security situation, and they took drastic actions to curb terrorism. So there was, as a result, there is a drop in terrorist activities, more focus on economic development, infrastructure development, like national highways, like more universities, more health facilities. So then, but the terrorists didn't stop there. They started these targeted killings of Kashmiri Pandits and other influential leaders. Then these Pakistani-based terror groups also operating. Involvement of ISI and Pakistani military is also doing their efforts to create chaos in Jammu and Kashmir. Next slide, please. Yeah, so in conclusion, the 75 years of suffering for the Kashmiri people is not ended. Still, it is going on. Still, they are prone to danger of terrorism. Pakistan government, military, and ISI are responsible for this suffering. Indian government's focus on economic development is very good sign, and we hopefully in the near future there will be a Jammu and Kashmir which is peaceful, stable, and prosperous. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Peramala Anjaya, speaking from Jakarta, and this is the last segment of our discussion. We will have a comment from Sri Unanto, PhD. Let's have a short bio of him. Sri Unanto, PhD, is presently working as an associate professor at Graduate School of Political Science of University of Muhammadiyah, Jakarta. He has been a member of Presidential Advisory Board's expert team since 2019. He has been the executive director of the Institute of Political and Security Studies since 2011. Dr. Unanto is holder in comparative politics from University of Science, Malaysia. He obtained master degree from University of Indonesia in 2005. Now he is basically a prolific writer, researcher, and respected scholar. So please welcome Dr. Sri Unanto, speaking from Jakarta.
Yeah, thank you very much. Very good afternoon, everyone from New Delhi, India, and also from Jakarta. And thank you very much for giving me opportunity to share my thoughts on, I think, very important issues regarding the Kashmiri, Kashmiri conflict, which referred to the carnage in several decades ago. I thank you very much to CSEAS for even inviting me or giving me opportunity to become a discussion of this session. And for sure, I will not repeat what I think what have been presented by our former speaker. But I enjoy it very much, especially in the issue of peace, conflict resolution, which I have been involved for several years. And I'm happy that each of you share thoughts on the cases of history, the carnage, and also the issue of terrorism, regarding the dispute in Kashmir. And of course, I am from political, comparative political side, and I enjoy very much discussing all about what I call as the residual legacy of the former colonial master of the British, which in some places of Palestine and Israel, in the case of India and Pakistan, and the case of course, now plus with regard to Kashmir, with regards to Bangladesh, and also which leave although another aspiration in Malaysia and Singapore. Yeah, that is of course very interesting issues that I think deserve for further discussion another time. Yeah, of course I will not repeat what has been discussed regarding the carnage, because everything seems clear from most of the perspective of Indian speaker. And I would rather focus on the upcoming situation in Kashmir, which focus on promoting peace, stability, and prosperity in the region. Yeah, I don't want to give more comment on Bina actors, actors relating in the Kashmir and then Jammu and also other regions in Kashmir. But of course, from my perspective of promoting peace, I would also, in addition to listening quite significant information from our Indian fellow speaker, I would like also basically to listen more to the perspective from our Kashmiri, Kashmiri friend, from our Pakistani friend, because by looking at the many sides of the case, we would come up into more objective, situation from objective facts that lead to, to promoting peace in the region in the coming years. Because of course, we condemn any violence, we condemn any terrorist acts. And I got information that formerly 42,000 terrorist attack which has occurred, but lately at a decrease. But for sure, as and also an academician who is concerned on the terrorism, we need to find out what is the real causes of the terrorism itself. There have been so many perspectives which explain the root of terrorism. Yeah, I would agree that terrorism has nothing to do with any religion, or terrorism acts as the enemy of any religion. But we have also to be, to be honest. If terrorism, and there must be root causes, be it political, economical, social, and so forth. And those terrorism who also capitalize religious pretexts to justify their action. And Southeast Asia, anywhere in South Asia, is a very, very, as a hotbed for terrorism acts. We should not forget the case of Afghanistan. I have also studied and remember simultaneous terrorist attack in Mumbai, and we have a problem also border, terror between Afghanistan and Pakistan, and there are some names, and also down to Sri Lanka, we have also witnessed quite significant attack from what we call as the LTTA or Tamil Elam, and also we just finished discussing about terrorism about ISIS, and still hot. There are some hot part in the case of Yemeni conflict. So I think, despite the decreased numbers of terror, we still need to be cautious that anytime the potential for terrorist attack will still happen. And that's why, in the context of Indonesia, we have experienced the issue of terrorism. I'll just use Indonesia as the benchmark or example. If we look at the terrorism phenomena in Indonesia, there are diverse of terrorism attacks which are rooted also in numbers of causes. Some of the causes is the issue between the overlap or the intertwined cases between terrorism and the issue of self-determination or separatism, like what happened in Papua. Just recently, the government of Indonesia designated the OPM, Papua Freedom Movement, as also terrorist. Formerly, we had also experienced the case of GAM, Gerakan Aceh Merdeka, or the Free Aceh Movement, which is naturally or initially as also separatist movement or self-determination movement, but also labeled as a terrorist. And also we have a little bit more genuine terrorists, which does not physically related to the issue of terrorism, but mostly motivated by religious pretext or religious argument, such as in the case of Jemaah Islamiyah formerly, which is also connected with Al-Qaeda, and latterly Jamaah Ansarud-Daulah, which is connected to ISIS in the Middle East. And now we feel fortunate because since the last couple of years, we did not experience any terrorist attack. We are free from terrorist attacks during the Christmas. But as I just recently speak to the police officer, that numbers of the arrests increased very significantly. Almost every year, the police arrested 350 terrorist detainees. And we can debate on this issue. On the one hand, we are happy that the numbers of terrorism decrease or withered. But on other case, that we are still aware that the root of causes is not comprehensively, root of causes of terrorism has not been comprehensively addressed within also Indonesian policy. That's why I would like to, departing from the position, I would like to provide some recommendation how to address, the root causes of terrorism in the case of Jammu and Kashmir. Yeah, first, of course, we have to come up with the shared, ideas. If we are talking about the peace, in this particular, I would share with the position of the Indonesian government to invite, involving countries with regard to the Jammu and Kashmir tension, such as India, Pakistan, and possibly China, to sit together and to give more, productive or constructive recommendation for the better Jammu and Kashmir generation. I haven't been to Jammu and Kashmir, but from the picture, I have been to Nepal, and from the picture, I'm really impressed that Jammu, Kashmir, and one region that I'm not quite familiar with, very beautiful environment, and that is, I think, a good place, and a good place for people not only from Jammu, Kashmir, India, and other parts to enjoy, because it is quite attractive for tourists to come. So promoting peace and prosperity in Jammu Kashmir is not only the greatest agenda for Jammu and Kashmir people, for Indian people, as well as for Pakistan. Yes, there are some contention, there are some debate and also dispute on numbers of issues, as I have heard from the previous speaker. But of course, there is no conflict without solution. And I'm constructivist, constructivist point of view in the sense that I do believe that any conflict can be solved if we really do, want to solve the conflict. And I think I would share in this case to promote or to recommend that any part involving in the issue of Jammu and Kashmir to sit together. And there have been so many benchmark of solution. If I took the case of Indonesia as a benchmark, let me just come from the Nangro Aceh Darussalam, the case of GAM, Gerakan Aceh Merdeka, or the Aceh Freedom Movement. Even though it was saved by the tsunami, then both the conflicting parties, Aceh and Indonesia, come up with a consensus in establishing special regional autonomy in which the government Indonesia not only respect the cultural background, religious background, and also economic and other specialties. For instance, in GAM, in Aceh, the government give a freedom to establish their own political party, which is different from the national political party. And then we have we also have experience which is not happy to everybody in the case of East Timor, when at the time Indonesia had to allow the idea of the referendum, and which make this region and then lost, and then we lost one of the province because of the freedom, beginning of the referendum, and which we give freedom to East Timor to determine their destiny. Yeah, we lost, and I think some of the people did not enjoy with this, with the situation. But that was politics that we could not abide, and I think maybe the ruler at the time feel that it makes sense, And then we have also another scenario, which is a little bit quite longer in the case of Papua. I think everyone's study the history of Indonesia. Papua is still one of the hottest area, which still experience the idea of also free independent movement. But lately, the government, 20 years ago, the government granted very, very special autonomy to the region, but the government give not only political autonomy in terms of special regional, also with the election of the local boy. The government also granted cultural, freedom in terms of like the establishment of cultural people assembly called Majelis Rakyat Papua, the people of assembly, and then keep also another freedom on and the economic share, yeah, and also other political, political right, such as the establishment of local political party. So this is quite, quite wide authority that the government has granted to Papua, which now divided the province of Papua into three parts. So we hope, in addition, of course, to developing infrastructure, which is quite amount, and also some improvement in the health sector, education, and other parts. Still, we witness that minority of the Papuan people demand for the idea of self-determination, and they protest dissatisfied with the idea of regional autonomy. They went on to street, especially during the revision of the autonomy law just a years ago. So there have been, some example of benchmark, and Indonesia, in addition to dealing their internal problem, this is our internal problem that we deal, very, very, very carefully. We are also active in promoting the peace in number locations, such as in Mindanao, between the central government and the Moro National Liberation at the time. We are also active in promoting the Cambodia in East, and we are also active in South of Asia, like in the case of Rohingya and also the case of Afghanistan. So our former president and vice president were active in promoting the peace, and which hope to achieve the stability and prosperity in the region. It is not because we are requested, we are requested by the country, but it is also the mission or vision of the preamble of our constitution. So we are also active in the case of First and Middle East, especially the issue of supporting the establishment of the Palestine as the independent state. So there are some aspects that I think need to discuss, and I have no idea, and of course the principle of non-interference. That's why Indonesian position, us to both India and Pakistan to sit together to promote peace in Jammu Kashmir region, and I think this is the first idea. Yeah, this is the ideal that Indonesia want to achieve. I think that is that's all my note, and I can thank you very much. Hopefully, what I have said, provide contribution to this ongoing discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It is indeed have a contribution, particularly from Indonesian experience. Before we have another comment from Mr. Ravinder Pandita from New Delhi, I would like to have a photo session. Please open the camera, Mr. Anil Taplu, Ahmad Kisai, or have a short photo session from our staff, CSEAS staff. Ms. Jihan. So Ahmad Kisai, thank you very much. Mr. Anil Taplu, would you mind to have a, thank you very much indeed. Please, Ms. Jihan, to have a short picture for documentation.
Yeah, thank you, Pak Asep. Okay, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Jihan. Next comments for 5 or 10 minutes. I would like to invite Ravinder Pandita from New Delhi, please.
Yeah, thank you so much for giving me the time and opportunity to speak a brief while here. And today's topic, first of all, I start congratulating you all people that we are all one, basically one genes. Must not forget, we all belong to Sharda Desh, once upon a time from Cambodia to Iran. And Sharda was the oldest university out there, which lies in occupied territory right now. And today being Diwali, yes, definitely it's a subdued Diwali because still killings continue in our Kashmir as a result of the proxy war and the terrorism. And I go back to 22nd October 1947, which is the blackest day. In fact, it started from 4th October when Liaquat Khan, decided to send tribals in Punch. And ultimately, 22nd October was the raids in Kashmir from at least 3-4 places, 3-4 spots. 6 groups advanced from Dumail, Udi, Baramulla, and the looting spree continued from 2 groups moved from Hajipur, passed to Gulmarg, and then some groups in Pir Panchal range in Bimbar, Rawalakot, and Punch. And ever since then, the Pakistani army, the Pakistan is an oppressor, and they continue to occupy our territory. Unfortunately, because of a, ceasefire, it was an, on-spot ceasefire. I don't know what decisions that time Pandit Nehru or some of our leaders, including our army, took. Because General Atta Hassan is here, he must also be listening. I still wonder what was the decision of, instantaneous ceasefire line that divided our Kashmir into 2. In fact, it divided whole J&K. Right now, whole J&K is into 5 parts. Now I talk of Kashmir Valley, 10 districts lie in what we call POK. 10 districts are our own Kashmir. So I am talking from the fundamental rights of religion right now here, because you people have all discussed the tribal rates, the history, the geography. I'll stick to one point that we have about 37 minority shrines out there in the 10 districts which are occupied by Pakistan. Ever since 1947, we have not been allowed to visit. I say nowhere in any conflict zone in the whole world, prayer has stopped even for a day, be it Al-Aqsa Mosque, be it Church of Turkey, be it any other conflict zone. Why prayer has been stopped here for the last 73 years now? Now, since 48, our all shrines, including one, the major, the Sharda University, which we are talking about, many of the speakers, the Sharda Peeth, which is Mecca of all Sanatanis. As we have in Islam, Mecca in Saudi Arabia, we have Mecca where the epicenter of knowledge and wisdom. It's closed since 1948. Now we have formed a civil society across. I am also heading one committee. Let's take up some measures at civil society level also. I have about 150 members across. We are still trying. But my question to the main speakers and to government of India and government of Pakistan both is that why our religious rights are vitiated? Why our own people cannot visit because of this line of control? I cannot go across the line of control and they people cannot come here to perform their religious, rites and rituals. This I have named my struggle as cross LOC, religious tourism and heritage tourism. This should begin earnestly. This is the biggest confidence building measure. And this way we can defeat terrorism, which is still going on. Only 10 to 15% people are involved in this. Rest of the people are good. We have a clear-cut civilization. There's a civilization genocide also along with the other genocides. Civilization has to be maintained. Let's not forget our Sharda Desh. We have one thing in common, all the speakers here. We belong to that Sharda Desh, which used to extend from Cambodia to Iran. So let's resolve together and at least our religious rights should not be violated. We have a right to pilgrimage. We can go to Sharda Peeth. Kartarpur corridor is a big example between India and Pakistan. I have traveled myself to Kartarpur, but I am not being allowed to travel to Sharda Peeth. So this is one of the questions, and this could be one of the confidence building measures and to counter the terrorism. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Apil Pandita. This is the last 10 minutes. Will be have a Q&A. I have one question for all of the presenters here, distinguished speakers. Mr. General Atta has another engagement, so is already left the room, and also Mr. Kisai. Ahmad Kisai has already left the room, but the question is, the Pakistan raises a Kashmir issue every year at the United Nations General Assembly and talks about the referendum in Kashmir. It is mentioned also by Dr. Unanto. Why did the UN fail to organize referendum? Who was responsible? Mr. Anil Taplu has raised the point. Please go ahead.
Unfortunately, none of the Pakistanis have ever read the UN resolutions. It says something different, they say something different, and they get humiliated every time on every platform in the international. Even a class 2 standard child understand what is the UN resolution, which that our former Prime Minister and the first Prime Minister Pandit Nehru took to United Nations. We took it. It should had not been taken. It says the illegal occupation by the Pakistani army has to get vacated first. I'm reading the lines. Anyone can open the book and read it. They had to vacate the territory, the entire territory. Now, there is Chinese involvement also in so-called Aksai chain, Karakoram hills. They also had to get vacated. Okay. And then Indian army as a peacekeeping will remain in both parts of Jammu and Kashmir, practically the entire Jammu and Kashmir. We don't use the word both parts. It is one Jammu and Kashmir. And then a plebiscite will happen. Now, why Pakistan is not doing it? As I told you in my previous statement, that if you talk to any Balochi, if you talk to people, 80%, 75-80% people, Muslim, I'm using the word Muslims in Pakistan occupied Kashmir, they will always raise the Indian flag because they know the difference. They're having brutally crushed by the Pakistani dispensation. So India is always there to respect the UN resolution, but Pakistan has no guts to do it. They cannot, because China is not going to get involved in this. But we are very sure the present leadership that India has, I'm very confident in my own life, I will see the reunion of both parts of Jammu and Kashmir.
Thank you very much. We do have a short time, maybe Mr. Utpal Kaul and then Peramala for give a comment for the question of referendum asking by Pakistan. Mr. Utpal, please.
Basically, as Mr. Taplu said just now, Dr. Taplu said just now, it was India, our Prime Minister, he went to UN asking them that declare Pakistan as an aggressor. It was the attack which Pakistan did in Kashmir, which they called as tribal attack. And it was, we said that we are basically victims. And question of referendum does not, one has to understand the history. Because when the 1946 Act of Independence, with what was the arrangement between government of India, British government, and the different kingdoms in India, it was decided that there won't be a referendum anywhere in India. It will be only the king, queen, Nawab. They will decide whether they have to go to India or Pakistan. And Maharaja of Jammu and Kashmir, who was the owner of the territory of Jammu, Kashmir, Ladakh, Hunza, Gilgit, Chitral, he signed the instrument of accession. And so there is no need of any kind of referendum. And then we can have referendum of whole of Indian subcontinent, India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh, whether the decision of dividing India and Pakistan was right. Then we have to do different kind of referendums. And one more thing, I have to tell you, for last 75 years, democracy is flourishing in Jammu and Kashmir, and there is a popular government going on there, and there are popular leaders from Sheikh Mahmoud Abdullah to Bakshi Ghulam Ahmad to Ghulam Ahmad Sadiq and others, and same way Ladakhi representatives, Jammu representatives. Only unrepresented are the people in POK, who are Pakistan has considered them as second-rate citizens. So they don't have any right. What we have to do is to ask the Pakistan humbly that we can live in peace, that the POK, Pak-occupied Kashmir, Gilgit and Hunza, as well as to Muzaffarabad, that area belongs to India, and we brothers can live peacefully. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Utpal Kaul. Rather than the answer the first question, I would like to add the other question for Peramala Anjaya. Does Pakistan has any legal claim in Kashmir? Please.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Pa Asep. Actually, when we talk about what kind of legal right Pakistan has in Jammu and Kashmir, because at the time of India's independence, Jammu and Kashmir was an independent state, as Mr. Utpal Kaul rightly pointed out, is the legal ruler of the state. And also the majority of the National Conference, Jammu and Kashmir people under the leadership of Sheikh Abdullah were also supporting the Jammu Kashmir's accession to India. So actually, Pakistan is nothing to do with Jammu and Kashmir. They do not have any legal right, any legal right at all. But Pakistanis do not say it was India, as Mr. Anil rightly said, it was India that went to the UN to solve the Jammu and Kashmir and stop this Pakistani's illegal occupation. So then the UN proposed that there should be a referendum. Both countries agreed to have a referendum, but to implement the referendum, the main condition is Pakistan must withdraw its troops and its militia from the Jammu and Kashmir region. Then after that, India also should reduce its troops and its presence. But the Pakistan, the basic ingredient, invader, he didn't withdraw. So India didn't withdraw. So that's why there is no relevance to that UN resolution which called for the plebiscite. Yeah, that is my answer. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Peramala Anjaya. We will have Mr. Sri Unanto. Do you have a word for regarding the question? Please. We still have 2 minutes left.
Yeah. Sometimes the idea of referendum refer to the basic value of human rights. But in political sphere, it is not easy for sure. Even Indonesia is objective with the idea of referendum in West Papua, for instance. Yeah. So while human rights people talk about the idea of referendum. So my point is that we prefer to leave it in a bilateral forum mainly between Pakistan and India to come up with a better situation in Jammu and Kashmir. Yeah, as I have already mentioned, there are some scenario out of the referendum idea, like in providing very large special regional autonomy, and then we can come up to the idea, the first. And if the situation is not in the secure And then, of course, I think that will be ideal also to invite the peacekeeping force to promote peace, to promote peace in the region, while there are political process that will continue in any form, because we don't want to give like certain recommendation. I mean, not recommendation, certain prescription on the issue of Jammu Kashmir. I will give to the bilateral relation on that issue. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Mr. Arvinder, have words on it, please. 1 minute. You may say something, Mr. Ravinder?
Yeah, I just wanted to add to the legalities which Mr. Peramala already stated here. You know, we used to have a constituent assembly till late up to 1975. We used to have a prime minister out here in J&K. Okay, that was abolished. Now the system of state assembly came into force. Now there are free and fair elections, and people have been fighting elections and swearing by the Indian Constitution. And we have still 24 seats which are not filled in the assembly, which are for POK, the occupied territory. Now this question of referendum, again, as Mr. Anil stated very clearly, Pakistan had to withdraw all the forces, complete forces, as an oppressor. Then India had to withdraw maximum of its forces. Then the wishes of the people could be seen through a referendum. Now those things have already gone. Those are all obsolete now. Now, by raising again and again this UN should then also see that in 1954, they have given recognition to this AJK government, so-called what we call POK. Where was the whole world sleeping that time? How could you give a recognition to an occupied territory? So those all points are now obsolete. We have a state assembly right now. We are fighting elections based on Indian Constitution, taking oath on Indian Constitution. So those things are already over. I don't know Pakistan why they are raising these issues. Thank you.
Last response, I think Anil Taplu has want to say something before we closing this session.
The world has to understand that Indian politician and Indian government had always one problem: whom to talk in Pakistan. Pakistan is governed by more than 10 type of personalities. There is not a single time that Pakistan in last 75 years has completed 5 years of its government. So it is very difficult. It's a rogue state.
Okay, thank you very much indeed for the participation in this very interesting topics, and we have a very good and friendly discussion. And have I would like to thank on behalf of CSEAS, Central of Southeast Asian Studies based on Indonesia, Mr. General Atta Hasnain. Thank you very much, Mr. Utpal Kaul, Dr. Ahmad Kisai, Dr. Anil Taplu, and also Peramala Anjaya and Dr. Sri Unanto. Thank you very much, Mr. Rapinder Pandita, and here also in Zoom there is Mr. Ajay Kaul. And thank you very much indeed for all participation and all distinguished speakers, and also audience in YouTube for 2.5 hours we have discussion regarding the Kashmir. So see you in the others discussion. Thank you very much and goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you
very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.